Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for this presentation, the title of which is Association between Heated Tobacco Product Use Behavior and the Incidence of Respiratory Symptoms, Internet-Based Cross-Sectional Study in Japan, Part 1. Since the majority of HTP users are former adult smokers, information about the user's smoking history and health status before HTP use is needed when assessing the potential health effects of HTP use. To obtain this information, a cross-sectional study was conducted in 2023. The result was published in a paper in 2024. This study showed that it is necessary to take into account the effects of smoking history before HTP use. This presentation is a follow-up to this paper, and the first part of two presentations. I'd like to report on the relationship between HTP use behavior and the incidence of outcomes. It especially focuses on the daily amount of HTP use as the HTP use behavior. The most significant feature of this study is to confirm whether the outcome occurs after or before HTP use. The total incidence is sum of all most recent occurrences of the outcome after age 20, including occurrences before or after HTP use. In this study, the outcomes include respiratory disease and symptoms. In this report, I present combined respiratory symptoms, which combines the incidence of 5 different symptoms as an example of an outcome. To analyze the association between the amount of tobacco use and the incidence of outcomes, utilizing the data from this study, the number of daily use of HTP sticks used, and the Brinkman index, which measures smoking amount before HTP use, are categorized into 4 groups. This slide shows the distribution of daily tobacco use amount. The number of tobacco use per day did not change significantly before and after the switch to HTP, and the CC group tended to have a higher Brinkman index than the HTP group. The largest number of participants fell into category 2 for daily usage and Brinkman index before HTP use. This slide shows the relationship between amount of daily tobacco use and incidence of outcome. As shown in Figure 3, a dose-response relationship was observed between the total incidence and the amount of HTP use per day. However, when outcomes that occurs before HTP use, which reflects the effects of past smoking, were excluded, as shown in Figure 5, the dose-response relationship with that outcome disappeared. This is likely due to the effect of past smoking, as shown in Figure 4, which shows a dose-response relationship between total incidence and past smoking. The same relationship was observed with the amount of daily tobacco use for outcomes other than combined respiratory symptoms. As shown in Table 5, by removing the effects of past smoking, the dose-response relationship with outcome disappeared. Finally, summary and conclusion. For exclusive HTP users, the most common number of use per day was 10 to 20 sticks, and the number of use per day didn't change significantly before and after the switch to HTP. A dose-response relationship was found between the total incidence in HTP group and the amount of daily HTP use. However, our results suggest that this relationship is largely due to smoking history before HTP use, as a dose-response relationship was also observed between the total incidence and the amount of smoking history before HTP use. Thank you for your attention. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me for this presentation, the title of which is Association between Heated Tobacco Product Use Behavior and Incidence of Respiratory Symptoms, Internet-based cross-sectional study in Japan, Part 2. Since the majority of HTP users are former adult smokers, information about the user's smoking history and health status before HTP use is needed when assessing the potential health effects of HTP use. To obtain this information, a cross-sectional study was conducted in 2023. The results were published in a paper in 2024. This study showed that it is necessary to take into account the effects of smoking history before HTP use. This presentation is a follow-up to this paper and the second part of two presentations. I'd like to report on the relationship between HTP use behavior and the incidence of outcomes. It especially focuses on the difference of brands in HTP and the HTP use behavior. The most significant feature of this study is to confirm whether the outcome occurs after or before HTP use. The total incidence is sum of most recent occurrences of the outcome after age 20, including occurrences before or after HTP use. In this study, the outcomes include respiratory diseases and symptoms. In this report, I present combined respiratory symptoms, which combine the incidence of 5 different symptoms as an example of outcome. To analyze the association between the difference of product and the incidence of outcomes, utilizing the data from this study. The incidence of outcome was calculated for each product, including cigarette, and examined the difference by ANOVA. This slide shows the distribution of product use. Table 1 shows the distribution of product use in HTP group. Exclusive HTP users tend to use only one product rather than multiple products. As for the amount of use, differences were observed in amount of daily HTP use and past smoking before HTP use among products. This slide shows the incidence of combined respiratory symptoms by products. After adjusting the effects of smoking history, the incidence of outcome in each product decreased. For example, in product HTP-A, 9.7 to 4.59. As shown in Figure 3, while the statistically significant difference in the adjusted incidence was found between HTP and CC group, there are no significant differences among HTP groups, and their incidence was at the same level as the NS group. The same trend was observed for outcomes other than combined respiratory symptoms. As shown in Table 6, by removing the effects of past smoking, statistically significant difference was found among HTP and CC group. There were no significant difference among brands in HTP group. Finally, summary and conclusion. Differences were found in the amount of daily HTP use and past smoking before HTP use among products, while the statistically significant difference in the adjusted incidence was found between HTP and CC group. There were no significant differences among the HTP group, and their incidence was at the same level as the NS group. This finding suggests that the harm reduction potential of HTP is comparable across products that heat but do not burn tobacco within the HTP category. Thank you for your attention.